GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. So we've seen a big dump in Bitcoin yesterday evening. Bitcoin coming all the way down to 91,000. And let's really take a look at whether this is the start of a more meaningful pullback, a more deeper correction. Was that it? Has Bitcoin topped out just above 100,000? Has it trapped everybody? And is it now going to roll over? Or was this big wick a great buying opportunity for us to now go and break out to much higher prices? I'm going to jump into it and try and answer that question with you on today's stream. So if that sounds like something you like, please do smash the like on this video, subscribe if not done so already. Let's jump into Bitcoin then. So like we said yesterday, we obviously saw Bitcoin come up to 100,000, came up slightly earlier than I would have thought it to. And funnily enough, it's crazy how these things work, but funnily enough, we come right back down to my path. We're literally on it right now at 98,000. And I kind of said I expected this to come to the top of the range. Obviously, we've deviated, we've wicked above the range, but we're now back within this range, or so I say, back within this ascending triangle formation. And what I'm really expecting now for Bitcoin is probably to consolidate a little bit and then make another attempt higher. And I'll go into a little bit more detail as to why I think that will happen and the reasons for that happening. But in terms of the price action, we can see we've come up here. Obviously, we took out the liquidity. We've come back down. We've taken out the liquidity actually all the way down to 91,000. And that's quite interesting because on the video yesterday, when I looked at the liquidation heat maps, might remember that we had liquidations all the way down to the low 90,000s, especially underneath this trend line here, this ascending trend line from our bullish ascending triangle. And I said, this could potentially be a target. And I did think potentially we would get a pullback, maybe to 99,000, maybe as low as about sort of 93, 94,000. Obviously, we wicked a little bit lower than I expected. And obviously, this was a brutal move. I think, if you'd been trading this ascending triangle, I mean, the safe place to put your stop would have been around about sort of 94 down to 93, maybe as low as 92,000 to be extra safe. And obviously, the market makers just run this lower and took out all of that liquidity. Interestingly, we saw this happen on Bitcoin. We didn't really see this move on many of the altcoins. So altcoins obviously showing some relative strength here. And if we just go over to our other chart, we can see here I actually have drawn this as a bullish pennant. So we've come down, we've come all the way down to this 786 retracement. We have now bounced and we've managed to get back above the top side of this bullish pennant. So right now, this would look like a breakout, a retest, obviously a liquidation wick below, and we're back above this bullish pennant. So as long as we consolidate above sort of 97,000, this is bullish for me. This is still a breakout, ignoring the numbers on the right-hand side here, ignoring the fact we're up at 100,000, which is obviously a big psychological level. We have to just look at the charts. We have to look at the price action. Big buying has obviously stepped in and bought up this wick. And right now we are still maintaining the breakout above this descending trend line at the top of this bullish pennant. So I'm looking at this as more likely than not to be a opportunity to actually now trade Bitcoin up to higher prices. And I'll actually just go over to the liquidation heat maps to show you what's happened over the last 48 hours. So we can see this liquidity we spoke about on the video yesterday did get taken out. We did break down here all the way right to the bottom of this whole stack of liquidations. And for me, this was an ideal reset. This is a perfect reset of the liquidity in the market. We've now bounced back up. And as we can see, we're starting to get liquidity now build up above 104,000, which is obviously where the highs came in from yesterday. And if we actually go down to a 24-hour, you'll see that we're adding even more liquidations above that level. So, and we're getting liquidations just above up to 100,000 now as well. So I do think that yes, Bitcoin might go for one more try lower, but I do think at some point Bitcoin will grind its way higher and likely pop through the high at 104,000 this month still. And I don't think the monthly high is in. I think there's a fair chance that maybe the monthly low has been put in down here at 90,000. But I think in terms of the monthly high, I am really expecting Bitcoin to go onwards and upwards here and probably through 105,000 and maybe up to 110,000 over the course of December. And something else in terms of looking at the funding rate heat map. So we don't normally look at this, but I think it's fairly relevant when we're talking about an alt season and altcoins starting to really push up. And we really have to be mindful of when the market starts to get overheated. This is a great identifier of when things are getting overheated. And you can see that yesterday we did start to get overheated on some of the altcoin funding rates. And just going back to the funding rates, this is the rate of interest that longs have to pay to shorts to keep these trades open. So obviously, if the funding rate, you've got the scale here, if the funding rate is on the higher side, it means longs are paying shorts. If it's on the lower side, it means that shorts are paying longs. So obviously in a sort of down market, you'd expect to see sort of these more darker sort of blue and purple colors. In a bull market, we'd expect to see more sort of green, yellow, orange, and we can see pretty much sort of greeny blue is neutral. So we've been neutral for quite a while, but when things heat up, it does give us a risk of a flush in the price. It does give us a risk of a correction. If we just go back over the last year and actually compare the funding rates currently to where they were last year, we can see when we made the high back in March last year, we got really, really extended. We got very, very extended right at the high end of this scale. You've got orange colors pretty much all over the altcoin sector. But if we look back at where we were in December, we can see that things would go sort of, more of a lighter green, more of a yellowy color, and then they'd reset. And then, certain markets would sort of start to go lighter green and more yellow again, and they reset. And it's only when we really get like quite a wide spread of orange that we start to get very nervous. Obviously, we've got a little bit of orange sort of creeping in here on H bar, but aside from that, this is not a major concern right now. So this is something telling me normally when we start this, we ultimately rally up until we get completely overheated. So until we get completely overheated, I don't think we have too much to worry about in terms of expecting a big correction. I'm talking about a 30 to 40% correction potentially on Bitcoin, maybe a 50, even 60, 70% correction on some of the altcoins. I don't think we're close to that right now. Obviously, the funding heat map would support this. The liquidation heat map for Bitcoin would also support this view. And I am expecting maybe it happens today or over the weekend, or maybe this waits until next week. But I am expecting over the next week that Bitcoin likely trades back above 100,000. And I would say by the end of December, I expect Bitcoin to trade above 103,000. And like I say, right now we've been pretty accurate in terms of our current outlook, and yeah, it's encouraging to see. I'm sort of happy I didn't start adjusting this yesterday because that would have been premature. But yeah, obviously a bit of a fake out for now, but all hope is not lost. I do think that this liquidation event here is a good sign. It's a healthy sign. It resets the market. And ultimately, that's going to allow for higher prices as traders start to get comfortable with buying back in. Prices push higher. And like I say, there's a lot of liquidation starting to build up above 104,000. That obviously, if we hit those, this will be complete rocket fuel and completely send the price. So that's Bitcoin. Ethereum then also came down, sort of retesting. So a similar event on Ethereum. Ethereum is currently holding the breakout from this descending trend line. So we've talked about this trend line. It connects the highs from the previous cycle with the highs from this cycle so far, and Ethereum is breaking through that. So Ethereum is looking healthy. I would say, look, we still haven't yet had a daily close above this descending trend line. So obviously we would want to see that to actually be more confident that Ethereum is going to push on, is going to get above this 4,000 level and push on to new uh, all-time highs, like sort of multi-year all-time highs, which are currently still just shy of 5,000 here at 4,840. So look, I mean, Ethereum looks good to me. Let's see if it can push on through, get a daily close and hopefully a weekly close above this descending trend line. And like I've said, if Bitcoin pushes on again through 104, 105,000, it's very hard to see Ethereum not therefore breaking out and making its way back up to around this 5,000 level. A bit of resistance will come in at 4,000, which is the 786 fib. So potentially we come up there and then we get a bit, a bigger move after Bitcoin maybe confirms its direction. But like I say, still very bullish here on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Solana also consolidating still, but if we sort of drop down, we'll see Solana holding its 4-hour 200 moving average. It's starting to coil up just above these moving averages here. And I like this. This is strong consolidations. It's bullish consolidation for Solana just below its previous all-time highs. The daily also looks good. It's just really sort of starting to hug and oscillate around this 20-day moving average. I mean, can Solana sort of come a bit lower? I mean, it could do. I think if Bitcoin were sort of potentially to come back down and take out its low from yesterday and maybe sort of hit some of our targets in the high 80s that we spoke about, potentially that would sort of cause these other markets such as Solana and Ethereum to have lower dips. But I don't really see that at the moment. For me, as long as, like I say, Bitcoin is holding its current sort of levels from this breakout of this sort of bullish pennant, which is currently holding above. So as long as it's above sort of 97, 98,000, then I just can't see it. I can't really, yeah, 97,500. I can't really see it happening. And yeah, I have to remain sort of fully bullish here. So I think Solana will do its thing. I think Solana will start to pull around. And by the end of this year, I'd be surprised if, like I say, Bitcoin's not above 105,000, Ethereum's not above 4,000, and Solana's not at new all-time highs above 260. So yeah, let's see if that does play out. And over to Pepe, similar to Solana in some ways, well, I guess stronger in some ways. It's come up and it's made new all-time highs already, and it's consolidating at new all-time highs, whereas Solana is consolidating just below its prior all-time highs. Pepe's consolidating just above, and Pepe's showing real strength. I think Pepe is one definitely that you want to have exposure to. It's a beta play on Ethereum. Ethereum is a beta play now on Bitcoin. Ethereum is showing strength now against Bitcoin. If you look at all the majors, even today, Ethereum is, sort of outperforming. We're starting to see Ethereum outperform. I think we'll start to see Pepe outperform. And yeah, obviously this is going to be great for the meme sector. It's going to be good for some of the other meme coin picks that I've spoken about, especially the Ethereum memes, things like Mog, things like Wojak. So yeah, I think Pepe will definitely send the memes when it gets back to all-time highs and looking good for the continuation from here. The dollar just really consolidating at the bottom of the recent range. So obviously we'll see if buying comes in here and sort of holds the dollar where it is. But I think at some point it's obviously risking a breakdown. The Fed meeting is going to take place. I believe it's in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I think obviously there's going to be a focus on what Jerome Powell actually talks about in that meeting. Let me just check actually where we are right now. yeah, I can't remember whether it's next week or the week after, but the key language to look out for is when the Fed start to announce that they're going to buy assets again because they've been taking assets off their balance sheet, and at some point they are expected to look to stimulate the jobs market, stimulate the economy again by actually sort of going back to asset purchases. So that's going to be a big thing. Obviously, that's going to mean more money gets printed. That's going to ultimately move this down, the DXY down. So the dollar might start to front run the next FOMC meeting. We might see some weakness start to come in on the dollar here. And of course, we're expecting a rate cut, but I don't think that is the most important thing now for the market. Obviously, the Fed is committed to making a rate cut at the December meeting. It's really the language around sort of Fed buybacks and asset repurchases, whether they are looking to adjust their stance on that at all. That would signal that we're moving back to expansion and QE, and that's likely to just send this market even higher than it currently is. And I know to some of you, it might seem like, well, we're at the top. Surely you don't want to buy high. The idea is to buy low and sell high. But really, in a bull market, you're buying high to then sell even higher. So, I wouldn't fight this great saying, don't fight the Fed. I think the Fed are about to probably sort of step on the gas, and that's going to sort of turbocharge everything. Of course, stock markets still at new all-time highs on the S&P, slight pullback yesterday for the Nasdaq as well, but essentially we're at all-time highs. Yeah, not too much more to say really, but I've been saying this. I said I expect stocks will hit all-time highs in December and probably have a strong end to the year, and that is exactly what they're doing. So just to summarize on Bitcoin, then we can see that Bitcoin is looking strong. We have sort of reverted back to the path, but we are absolutely following that path exactly as we speak right now. And like I say, I'm expecting probably a bit of consolidation, and over the next week, probably a move back up above 100,000, looking to catch the liquidations above 104 and potentially running even higher. I don't want to speculate how high Bitcoin's going to go right now, but look, I think 110,000 to 115,000 could potentially be on the table even for December. And yeah, things are looking strong. Ethereum showing relative strength. I think Ethereum, it's only a matter of time before it breaks out fully to 4,000 and then probably towards all-time highs just under 5,000. And of course, the altcoins, if we just look at Bitcoin dominance quickly, then we can see it's pretty much sort of playing out as we are expecting here. As we go to the daily, we can see that we have said we're expecting this sort of pullback, or sorry, should I say pullback? This move up, this push up, this retrace higher in the dominance as Bitcoin breaks through 100,000, and then we'll probably get an even bigger altcoin rally, and I mean an alt season. I think the move in the altcoins we're seeing right now is probably just the precursor, probably just the starter or the amuse-bouche to the major expansion that we're likely to see in the total cryptocurrency market cap, and that will ultimately be a full-blown alt season. I think we've got an even bigger drop in Bitcoin dominance coming and an even bigger expansion and rally in the alts coming, likely when Bitcoin does get above 100,000 again and above 104, 105,000. I think we'll see even more rotation at that point. So look, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you all again on the next one. GM.